U.S. today are living with Alzheimer's. From the early stages to the stages where remembering their family can be hard, patients struggle with daily tasks. Patients often need family members or hire caregivers to help them through their everyday challenges. After extensive research, we realized that Alzheimer's disease cannot be reversed or prevented, but that we can help the patients lengthen their time at home and their time with their families, and help them get used to the life that they face.
Okay, so starting off with this module 3 project, basically I had to pick up where we left off in module 3. So the final prototype in that was basically a note pad, sketch pad for your armband to take off right on. And basically it was over the storage and accessibility of information. When we were designing that, the problem we found was there was really no empathy, and there was no user research towards it. So basically we tried to design it for everyone, but in reality it didn't really work for anyone. So we took that, and with the new module we took the direction towards how do we pivot this and find the user from this. And so we looked at what user could actually use this storage and communication info the most. Through talking about it, we realized that people with Alzheimer's, dementia, and the actual caregivers of them could use this technology a lot within the caregiving process when they're at home and they're taking care of the person. So basically, we went into this with researching empathy and Alzheimer's disease itself. We went through interview processes with caregivers, researched interviews with people who actually had Alzheimer's themselves. We had personal interaction with the caretakers and interpatient relationship between the caregiver and the person with Alzheimer's. And a couple of us have first-hand experience at adult daycares for Alzheimer's. So they were actually in the caretaker position. So with our product, first of all, when we started in the prototyping, we realized it was actually pretty feasible. We already had the technology, which was Vivid, so we would just take that and basically go with it. It has all the capabilities already. We just had to do a few tweaks. Designed it so we'd probably make it a bit more waterproof, maybe add Gorilla Glass so it would be not as breakable on the person with Alzheimer's, so they can just carry it around with them on a daily basis so it wouldn't break. In addition, we connected to an app for the caregivers so they could access information from the patient who has Alzheimer's, so they could interact with them more easily. Some of the features on here would be voice and note capture capabilities. So what we found through our research of empathy and whatnot is a lot of people with Alzheimer's take notes and try to organize their lives and kind of keep track of all the information that's in their head because they couldn't necessarily access it whenever they wanted to. What we found was it became very cluttered and it actually confused them even more. They'd have notes laying around all over the house. So with this voice-taking capabilities, they could press a button, say a little note, it would show up all the things so they could have that with them permanently until they finish that task. So it would be a little reminder for themselves. And also between the caregiver and the patient, they can send messages back and forth and send little tasks. Also, with this capability, another thing we found through the empathy is the caregiver and the relationship with the person with Alzheimer's. There's a lot of frustration because if the caregiver leaves a room for a second, the patient may get up and start doing a task because they just thought to do something. They get back, they don't know what's happening, and it becomes very frustrating because there's a lack of communication between the two. So this ability to take down what you're about to do and relay that information back and forth is very helpful. With sending these tasks, it would be a little vibration tone so that the person with Alzheimer's doesn't get overwhelmed. Usually the caregiver's with them, so it's not just this weird device telling them what to do. There's the human factor between that, so it's not overwhelming. There's also the GPS capabilities. A lot of the times people with Alzheimer's wander off, they get lost, they go try to do a task and they forget about it, so they don't exactly know where that is. Caregivers with the app can access a little GPS map to track where they are, and with the app they can also set perimeters, such as within the household. If they leave the household, they can't find them, it'll do a little alert on the caretaker's app so they can find that person. It just makes it easier for them to track each other. Another thing is vital tracking within the Fitbit. It keeps track of heartbeat and actually has buttons. So connect to the app. And with the empathy of this, my mom was a caregiver and she had multiple instances. I remember growing up, she had call my mother, ask her to come over there. It was a very confusing time because she didn't know what was happening until she got over there. Sometimes there'd be medics there, you'd have heart issues. This would basically relieve that because if there's an issue within the vital signs, it will alert the caregiver, tell them exactly what's wrong with it. They can look it up so they're prepared for it before they actually get to that house because they're not always together, so they need to have a way to see them. So basically the goal for this was to, as Kayla said, it's a viable product, it's easy to use for both of them. We took that in with our empathy. We wanted to lengthen the time spent at home with the person with Alzheimer's spent at home with their loved ones. Because basically that was with module 4 to focus on community and like the long-term goal had a bigger impact they could spend with their loved ones and possibly reduce the effect that Alzheimer's can have on the brain. The more time they spend with loved ones and work through these processes, it actually helps reduce the effects of Alzheimer's over time. It would also, we also wanted this device to reduce the frustration between caregiver or family members and the person with Alzheimer's, because that was a major factor in the fact that they had to send the person with Alzheimer's to care homes because they couldn't really deal with it, and there was no actual communication between those two people. So that's our product, and that's our goals. This is the app. So as you can see, a caregiver would connect to the different patients that they have. You can go to the map with the perimeters, you can find the person, vital signs, you can track that, it would alert them if anything's wrong. Messages, you can send little notes back and forth or tasks if you're off doing something, you can say that's what I'm doing. And it's just an easy way to connect with the two people and keep track of everything.
You were talking about, this is the kind of thing you would use, that you would change certain aspects of it. Do you have anything that shows the larger screen, etc.? You had that one image with something.
Yeah, well, we had some like drawings and stuff. It's on our behance, so we just have some of the concepts of the larger screen. How it makes sense.
I was just thinking, there's all kinds of features that can go into that people have joked about, talked about, or in development, not for this case, but for other things like, because if people have cell phones or if other people have bands, the easiest way to do it. Facial recognition is the other thing, but it's a way of taking out the kind of fear of not recognizing people as well. It's some sort of identification that depends on screen size, etc. Because these things would be plugged into a cloud, the processing wouldn't even have to occur on it, but they can be relayed, processed out and then brought back in to the database of information that's there. What other products? There's obviously certain products out there that monitor vitals and things like that. So how is this position different than that? It seems more comprehensive and more focused.
I found that usually those types of technologies are found once they actually go into healthcare centers or they have full-time caregivers and someone that looks over them constantly. There isn't really this sense of trying to have that during the process where they're actually in home and it's out there patient research or the relationship between the caregiver and when they're at home. There's not being taken care of all the time. So we wanted basically that sense of all time they're always being taken care of and there's always the connection between the caregiver and them without necessarily them having to be around.
I'd be curious in terms of the sketches, in terms of how big the screen actually has to be, especially for an elderly person to get the sort of size of the text and the amount of text. If you're with voice recognition, you can maybe speak it in, and so it can handle the whole sentence, and then how you display that back.
We talked about maybe having some technology where it would take a sentence and maybe reduce it down to a smaller little caption that could get the same message across, but smaller.
You could train, the user could learn how to not say a whole sentence too, but get longer,
And the size of the screen, it's not going to be the width that's displayed on there. It's going to be on the side. So the width, the height of the screen is going to be the width of the band. It's going to be maybe 4 or 5
think some studies in terms of what the actual sizing could be relative. I mean, there was a time when phones got smaller and smaller, and now they get kind of bigger and bigger because the screen's tougher. I mean, it's just an understanding of the amount of information, what the technology of the screen could be, etc.
So what happens when the person forgets to put it on? Like, because you're kind of relying on them to remember to always have it on, or who's the caregiver there to always have the device?
We usually, during like when it's the caregiver, they're still at home, they have a loved one living with them. They're usually not by themselves all the time. So it's kind of like a cooperation between the loved ones, that person with Alzheimer's, and also the caregiver. So there's always someone there who has like the ability to like help them out with things. So
we're focusing on the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, where the remembering part is not as strong, but like sometimes they just get flustered, which is why we're kind of introducing them to that item like early on, so that they can get used to it.
Yeah, I'd be kind of curious, because there is a lot of different technologies or other sort of devices that you can actually buy that would actually interface with this really well. Like simple heart monitors that I use for bike riding. I mean, it measures everything about the riding intensity and everything. So those kind of aspects can actually be incorporated into this device as well. So it'd be interesting to see how this would integrate with all those other things that are available. Whether it's an add-on device or it replaces that, or that kind of stuff.
and that's just going on in the future, like how long term. So.
Have you given any thought as to the actual making of the device? This thing it's kind of a nice plastic, very soft, malleable thing. What kind of thoughts going into the actual making?
It would have a similar design, like larger screen, obviously. Like maybe it's already pretty waterproof and breakproof, so you could basically take that design and maybe add some like aesthetic features that would make it more individualized towards each patient. But otherwise, like we kind of went more into the empathy aspect of it rather than the prototype design, because we went off like what kind of technology do we need to like. So we found the research. So that was really
And then as part of the research, was there, and I think it addresses the size of the screen, was there any empirical data or metrics that are available to you or that you go out and find to actually figure out how big this screen needs to be? Because it would seem to me that the dexterity of the individual is going to play a lot into how big the screen needs to be in order to kind of engage all the information that you're showing. And I know that you're relying on a pair, it's like getting this person in order to kind of dissect all the information and put it into this thing. So was there any kind of data that goes into that?
It was hard to find like data as far as like how big a screen necessarily had to be for them to see it. We did find research like saying people with Alzheimer's did have like there was a percentage that had issues with eyesight. Most of I think it was like 90-some% had glasses and they needed visual like help, obviously, but like not necessarily any data saying how big a screen had to be, how far away usually they looked at it. We could find maybe if we look deeper and have more testing with the actual prototype and a person with Alzheimer's, we might be able to find that.
There might be simple mechanisms too, like maybe it's not displaying the information as much as it is displaying a symbol or a dot in a certain place. So maybe there's 2 positions or 3 positions, and one is saying you've got some task stored. The other is saying an alert has come to you, and then you push a button or you say something to it, and it gives you that message back. I mean, it might display it in text too, but you could do both at the same time.
We were trying when we did